Okay, let's talk about the secret sauce of English. We're going to crack open this really colorful and, yeah, sometimes confusing world of idioms and slang. This is the stuff that's going to make your English sound truly natural and alive.
You've been there, right? You're listening to someone, you know every single word they're saying, but when you put it all together, the sentence makes zero sense. It's such a common frustration for language learners, and today, we're going to figure out exactly why that happens.
And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Someone tells you to break a leg before a big performance, and you're just standing there thinking, wait, you want me to get hurt? No, of course not. This is where we get into figurative language, and it's what we're tackling today.
So, let's get into our first section, the secret sauce of English. Think of idioms and slang as the essential ingredients that really add that unique flavor and personality to the way you speak. And this is absolutely the key point. You can memorize every grammar rule in the book, but if you don't get a handle on idioms and slang, your English can sound, well, a little robotic. These expressions are the real heartbeat of everyday casual conversation.
All right, section 2, idioms versus slang. So what's the actual difference? They might seem kind of similar, but they play totally different roles in the language. Let's break it down.
First up, we've got idioms. An idiom is basically a phrase where the meaning has nothing to do with the actual words. Like, spill the beans. It has zero to do with actual beans or spilling anything. It just means you're revealing a secret you weren't supposed to share.
And what's so cool about idioms is that they're like these little time capsules from history. Take, bite the bullet. This actually comes from a time way before modern medicine when soldiers in surgery would literally bite down on a lead bullet to deal with the pain. So today, we use it to mean facing a really tough situation without complaining. It's amazing how language keeps these old stories alive.
And then, on the other hand, we have slang. If idioms are history, slang is what's happening right now. It's the super informal, trendy language you hear in pop culture and all over the internet. You know, a few years ago you might have said a movie was cool, but today you're more likely to hear that it was lit or fire. This chart really lays it out perfectly. The way to think about it is this. Idioms are like marathon runners. They come from history, and they stick around for a really long time. Slang is a sprinter. It's born from current trends, and it can disappear just as fast as it showed up. Okay, next up. Language in motion. Let's really look at how slang evolves, because its fast pace is what makes language feel so incredibly alive and dynamic. You know, slang is a lot like fashion. What's stylish changes with every generation. Back in the 80s, if something was awesome, it was rad. By the 2000s, it was just cool. And today, you might hear someone say something is lit, fire, or even this song slaps, to say it's really, really good. And it's not just about time, it's also about location. Just look at the UK versus the US. In Britain, if you're really tired, you're knackered. In America, you'd probably say you're beat. Or how about cheers? In the UK, it often just means thank you, but in the US, it's pretty much only for toasting drinks. Same language, totally different vibes. And of course, you can't talk about modern slang without talking about the internet. It has been a massive accelerator. Think about terms like LOL and BRB that went from text messages to actually being said out loud. And more recently, a word like sus, short for suspicious, just exploded out of the video game Among Us and became part of global vocabulary, like overnight.
So, let's get practical in our next section, sounding more natural. How can you actually start using these expressions without sounding awkward? Let's dive in.
All right, time for a little quiz. You've probably heard this one, especially with online dating and everything.
What does it mean to ghost someone?
You got it. It's when someone you're talking to just vanishes. No more texts, no calls, no contact at all. They just disappear from your life, like a ghost.
Okay, how about this one? You might hear it at the end of a sentence that sounds a little hard to believe. Someone says, I aced that exam without even studying. No cap. What are they telling you?
Yep, it just means no lie or I'm being totally serious. They're basically adding it on to say that what they just said is 100% the truth.
Now, here are some really useful, timeless idioms that you'll hear all the time. Instead of saying something was easy, you can say it was a piece of cake. Feeling a little sick? You're under the weather. These are classics for a reason. They just make your English sound so much more vivid.
So, what's the best way to learn these? Honestly, the key is context. Don't just memorize flashcards. Watch movies, listen to songs. Pay attention to how people actually use these phrases in conversation. And then just try to use one or two yourself. You don't have to learn them all at once. Start small.
And this might be the most important piece of advice right here. When you start using idioms and slang, remember to sprinkle them in. Don't just dump them all over your conversation. It's like seasoning your food. A little bit makes it amazing, but too much just ruins the whole dish. The goal is to sound natural. And really, at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. Don't ever be afraid of making mistakes. The whole point of learning a language isn't to be perfect, it's to connect with other people. Idioms and slang are just another amazing tool to help you do exactly that. And that leaves us with this final thought. From rad to lit, language never, ever stands still. It's constantly being shaped by culture, by technology, and by all of us. So, what's next? What are the new words we're all going to be using in 5 or 10 years? Who knows? And that's the exciting, unpredictable beauty of a living language.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, we often talk about the mechanics of language, grammar, conjugations, all that, and you can master all of it, theoretically, but still feel like, I don't know, your conversations are hitting a wall. Your English might be correct, technically, but it sounds a bit, well, maybe robotic. So today, we're going to try and tear down that wall. We're doing a deep dive into idioms and slang, that figurative, sometimes fleeting, but really necessary language that makes English sound, well, real. This is basically the secret sauce, right? The thing that shifts you from textbook proficiency to sounding natural.
It really is. It's that essential next step. And you, the listener, you probably know the feeling. You read a sentence, you understand every single word in it, yet the overall meaning completely lost. Like hearing, oh, it's raining cats and dogs, and you instinctively glance outside looking for, well, actual animals falling from the sky.
Exactly. Or someone tells you, they're going to let the cat out of the bag, and you're stuck wondering, where's the cat? What bag? The truth is, getting these phrases right isn't just about memorizing lists. It's much more about understanding culture, history, context.
Precisely. So our mission today is to explore what idioms and slang actually are, how they work as this kind of cultural shorthand. We'll look at where they come from, and most importantly for you, how you can start using them confidently, without sounding awkward or maybe outdated.
Okay, let's unpack that and maybe start with some clarity because they aren't the same thing. We need to define the difference here. So what exactly defines an idiom?
Okay, fundamentally, an idiom is a phrase where the meaning is kind of frozen. It's figurative, it's not literal at all, and you absolutely cannot figure out its meaning just by looking at the individual words. That's the key. They often exist outside normal grammar rules too, which, let's be honest, is why they can be so frustrating when you're first learning.
Right, that explains why spill the beans is so weird at first. Nothing to do with beans or spilling, it just means to reveal a secret. Simple as that, once you know. Or if I say, let's call it a day, I just mean stop working, not, check what day it is.
Exactly. And what gives idioms their real weight, their staying power, is often their connection to the past. They're like tiny time capsules. We looked into the origin of bite the bullet. which is a really powerful, if pretty grim example. It apparently comes from a time long ago when soldiers undergoing surgery, without anesthesia, mind you, would literally be given a lead bullet to bite down on, just to cope with the agony.
Wow. Okay, that context really changes how you hear that phrase. So today, when you say bite the bullet, it means you're facing something difficult, maybe painful, unavoidable, and you just have to get through it, knowing that history gives it a certain, well, gravitas.
It really does.
Right.
Now, if idioms are like history-stable, fixed, reflecting traditions maybe centuries old, then slang is pretty much the opposite. Slang is more like the heartbeat of everyday conversation, is the informal language that reflects the culture right now.
So slang is much more fluid, faster. It catches current trends, youth culture, definitely social media these days. It's like, if language is a house, maybe idioms are the solid foundation stones, but slang is the wallpaper. You know, it gets changed out every few years, maybe even faster.
That's a great analogy, and that's a key distinction for you to keep in mind. Idioms generally offer stability. Slang offers immediacy.
Okay, let's dig into idioms in action then. Why actually bother using these old, sometimes frankly weird phrases in modern speech? What's the payoff?
Well, they offer tremendous expressive power. They let you say things in a much more vivid way than just a simple statement. But maybe more importantly, idioms function as a powerful kind of cultural shorthand. When you use one correctly, you're signaling to native speakers, hey, I get it, I share this common cultural knowledge. And that creates an immediate sense of in-group belonging, which arguably is a real secret to sounding fluent, not just, grammatically correct.
That's a really great point. It's about connection, that psychological aspect. Okay, so let's talk about some positive ones, maybe phrases that convey effort and eventually success. Like instead of just saying, I succeeded after a difficult period, you could use something like, I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It conveys the whole journey, the relief, the persistence, not just the end result.
Right. Or think about finishing a task really well. Instead of a flat, I completed it perfectly, you can just say, I nailed it.
Yeah, much punchier.
Short, vivid, confident. But this kind of figurative thinking, it isn't just an English thing. The sources we looked at showed some amazing parallels across cultures.
Oh yeah, that part was fascinating. Every culture seems to have its own colorful way of saying something is just completely impossible. In English, we imagine a pig flying when pigs fly.
But if you hop over to France, you'd be waiting for something slightly different. Quand les poules auront des dents, which means when hens have teeth.
Same idea, totally different image.
Exactly. Same level of impossibility.
Or that Chinese idiom, which translates roughly as a frog in a well. It perfectly captures someone with a really limited perspective who thinks their tiny world is everything there is.
It shows how universally humans try to visualize abstract ideas, make them concrete and memorable.
Which leads us nicely into the world of slang, because if idioms change slowly, over centuries, slang, that changes practically overnight sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It moves incredibly fast. Think about words for good or great. 10, 15 years ago, something awesome might be cool or maybe rad if you go back a bit further. Now, if a new movie is amazing, you might hear it's lit or it's fire.
Right. Or if it's a song with a great beat, that track slaps. That one always makes me smile.
Me too.
Yeah.
But the speed of this evolution, it means you constantly need to be, well, updating your internal dictionary. And that raises a really important question for you, the listener. If slang changes this fast, is trying to learn it just pointless? Would you sound dated in like 6 months?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer is, well, it's complicated. Some specific slang terms definitely die out fast. But the patterns of slang, like the way we constantly find new words for good, bad, friend, cool, those patterns persist. So the key is focusing on context and also region, because slang can be intensely regional.
Oh, definitely. The flavor changes hugely depending on where you are. I remember being in the UK recently and hearing knackered all the time.
Meaning exhausted.
Exactly. In the UK, if you're really tired, you're knackered. But in the US, we'd probably just say I'm beat or I'm wiped. The first few times I heard knackered, I wasn't quite sure what they meant.
Yeah, regional differences can trip you up. Take cheers.
Oh, good one.
In the UK, it's super common for thank you, even goodbye sometimes. But use cheers casually like that in the US, and someone might genuinely look around for a drink to toast with.
It's almost exclusively for toasting drinks in the States.
Right. And then there's the huge shift that's changed absolutely everything, internet slang.
It's not just for online chats anymore. It's basically created this whole new global dialect that has absolutely crossed over into everyday spoken English.
It's moved beyond just typing abbreviations, hasn't it? Like, the interesting thing isn't knowing what LOL means anymore. Pretty much everyone gets that. It's the fact that we now have cultural permission to actually say LOL out loud in a conversation instead of actually laughing. We're literally speaking acronyms.
It's true. And this new digital dialect is often turbocharged by huge cultural moments, especially from gaming or social media trends. Think about sus, meaning suspicious. That came roaring out of the game among us and just went global in a matter of months.
Or terms reflecting social shifts like ghosting, just completely ignoring someone, cutting off contact. That word filled a real gap. Or even simp, which is used often critically to describe someone seen as overly attentive or maybe desperate for someone else's approval.
And we see words that really pack an attitudinal punch, like flex, meaning to show off, or cringe for something painfully awkward or embarrassing. And what I hear a lot now is no cap, which basically means no lie or I'm being totally serious. It's a very current way to stress sincerity.
Yeah, without sounding all formal about it.
Exactly.
The speed and the global reach of this digital slang mean English is being collectively written, spoken, and updated by millions constantly. It's actually a pretty revolutionary moment for language evolution. Okay, so let's pivot now to the really practical side. How can you, listening right now, move past that robotic stage and actually start using these phrases naturally? Maybe instead of just a list, let's think about the specific conversational gaps these common idioms fill.
Good idea. So think about efficiency. You want to get straight to the point. Instead of a slightly clumsy sentence like, we should probably stop discussing peripheral details and address the main issue now, you can use an idiom that signals directness. Let's cut to the chase.
Perfect. Short, clear, everyone knows what you mean. Or imagine you took a test and it was surprisingly easy. Instead of formally saying the examination was not difficult, you sound much more natural and relaxed, saying it was a piece of cake.
Right. Much more relatable. We also use them to kind of manage how we present things. Like if you're feeling a bit sick but don't want to go into detail, instead of listing symptoms, you just say you're feeling under the weather.
Polite, a bit vague, gets the message across.
It signals, I'm not feeling great, but it's probably not serious. Don't worry.
Okay, what about money? If something was incredibly expensive?
Ah, yes. Why use a boring adjective like expensive? Use a dramatic idiom that conveys the feeling of sacrifice. It cost an arm and a leg.
You immediately get the sense of high price and maybe the pain of paying it.
Exactly. Now, the absolute key to learning these naturally, as we touched on, is context. You really must avoid just memorizing lists of idioms in isolation. That rarely works. They're best picked up by seeing and hearing them used repeatedly in real situations, which basically means immersion.
Yes, watching movies, listening to music, engaging with high-quality media where people speak naturally. Pay attention to when and why people use these phrases. And actually, popular culture is vital for keeping even older idioms alive and kicking.
Absolutely. Think about some older idioms, maybe ones related to sports. Pop culture keeps phrases like, the ball's in your court, constantly in circulation.
Meaning it's your turn to act or decide.
Right. Or just the simple, direct, hit the road, meaning to leave, to depart. You hear those constantly in TV shows, movies, songs.
Okay, and maybe the most critical piece of advice on actually using them, something that came up in the sources quite a bit, moderation.
Yes. This is crucial.
Yeah.
You need to sprinkle these phrases into your conversation, like seasoning. Don't just dump the whole container in.
Right, because what happens if you use too many?
Well, frankly, you risk sounding unnatural in a different way, like you're trying too hard, or maybe just quoting a textbook you memorized. Your speech can become stiff again.
So sprinkle, don't dump. Good advice for cooking and for language.
Precisely. Too much salt ruins the dish. Too many idioms can make your conversation awkward. Use them naturally where they fit.
Okay, so let's try and summarize our deep dive synthesis here. Idioms give your English history, color, cultural depth. They connect you to a longer tradition. Slang, on the other hand, gives it life, immediacy, relevance right now. And using both appropriately is what unlocks that natural, flowing conversational style.
Well put. And looking forward, the future of slang is undeniably digital and it's increasingly global. Think about terms like bruh or fam. They travel internationally through memes, through TikTok, through short-form video, faster than any traditional dictionary could ever hope to track.
Which means that every conversation you have online, every meme you share, maybe even just understand, it's a tiny contribution to how English is evolving right now. You're not just a passive learner anymore. You're actually an active participant in creating the language.
And maybe that's the final thought to leave you with. Language isn't really about striving for some kind of impossible, flawless perfection. It's fundamentally about connection, shared understanding. And with slang and idioms now traveling the globe faster than ever before, we're basically all co-creating the next version of the dictionary together in real time. The only real way to fail is to be too afraid to try. So go out there, listen, absorb, and maybe try to, well, nail it.